Budgets. Everybody deals with budgets, especially in even if you're not in an organization, even if you're a self-employed individual contractor, you have to have a budget. Again, because in this class we're talking about marketing in the context of a larger organization, we're talking about budgeting in the context of a larger organization, and there is never enough money to do everything that you want to do. This is why economics is required as a prerequisite for marketing. Making choices with scarce resources. So recognizing that it's in the organization's interest to invest the money where it's going to do the most good, meaning where it's going to have the highest return on investment. And typically the way the budgeting process works in large organizations is you get some kind of a top-down budget where corporate says you got $1 million for marketing this year, and then you also have your marketing objectives. I want to have 30% of our sales from new products. I want to expand distribution into 3 new territories. So you have both budget and you have expectations. We talked about in strategic planning that higher level objectives become givens for lower level planning. And then at the bottom up approach, you as the manager are developing your budget, and we're of course going to use the objective task approach because that is the best approach, where we identify all of the things we have to do, what they would cost, and add them up, and almost inevitably the field manager who has to do the work, their budget is higher than the budget that was initially allocated. And when that happens, there needs to be negotiation. And there's a couple things going on. One is in an organization, money equals power. So the bigger my budget, the more important I am. Okay, that's just a fact of life. So people want budget both to get the work done and to show how important they are. There's a little psychological stuff going on in there. So then typically you're going to get the top down, which is higher than the bottom up budget, and there's the negotiation. And this is where I talked about the chain ratio method of forecasting and the objective task method of setting budgets comes in really handy, because if you have taken a look at every activity and put a price tag on it when it comes to negotiations, and they say, well, you know, our budget is 1.2 million, you're only giving us $1 million. If we only get $1 million, we'll have to cut this, and this was what would happen to our objective. Is that acceptable? Or if you want us to achieve the objectives you set for us, we're going to need this. You know what I mean? And it helps if it's defensible, if you can put some numbers behind it, put some facts behind it, rather than just saying, I can't do it with what you're giving me, I need more. And then there's also a lot of gamesmanship that goes on in budgeting. Some of the gamesmanship is typically, I shouldn't say this, but it's not unusual for a manager to inflate their budget so that when it comes to negotiation, they can make some concessions without actually hurting their ability to get their job done. And another one is unused budget, is if it ends up that you are able to accomplish your goals and it didn't require all of the resources that you had allocated to you. I've never heard of anybody sending the money back. Usually you keep that money, spend it, whatever, because the fear is that if I show that I was able to do it for less money this year, I might get my budget cut next year. Salespeople know this. And it was kind of fun, even at this institution, there's a budget for what they call computer refreshes, is to make sure that people have the appropriate equipment. And computer salespeople know that our fiscal year ends in June, and sometime, or in July, and sometimes in June, there are departments that have excess budget and they need to get it spent before July, otherwise they might lose it. And so that's a great time to be talking to people about buying stuff, because I got budget, I got to spend it right away.